So we have the two experts, Falko Döring and Krishna Reddy. So these guys are a PuzzleInnovation, a great company found by a trio, not a duo. So Tiago is not here. So Italy, Spain, Germany, the three countries. We were telling Sajali, the three country company, this one. So we are
Okay.
glad that they are here. So they're passionate in what they do. So they're gonna tell you the art of storytelling. So, and I also welcome my friend Sainath Maharata here. So I just now call him. He started a company called Strong Human Network. So something we will talk tomorrow about it. So Krishna, the stage is yours now.
Thank you, Jagdish. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Krishna here, and I'm joined today with my co-founder, my teammate, Falko Döring. And both of us today here, as part of PuzzleInnovation, will be sharing our 2 cents on storytelling and pitching. So first things first, can you see the screen?
Yes, Krishna.
Okay, great. Um, so it's me, Falco, and Krishna here today. And before we jump into the topic of storytelling, um, I want to give you a little bit insight about who we are. What do we do as PuzzleInnovation? See, at PuzzleInnovation, we believe in very one simple thing, that is bringing together different pieces to solve a puzzle. And how do we do that? And how does it translate into the real world? Well, in real world, and the real challenges that we see, that everybody has different ideas, different perspectives of how to approach them and how to look at them, and and sometimes these different ideas, perspectives may clash together and create a sort of us versus them situation. And we at PuzzleInnovation, we bring together all these different pieces, different ideas, narratives, perspectives, and with our services, with our consultancy services, with our help, we bring them all together on a table, and we bring all the parties involved to work together and to create one single solution, one single idea for which they all believe in, for where all their ideas are heard, and everybody can work together to achieving that one single idea that comes out of it. That's in short about us. So now let's jump back to our topic of the day, that is storytelling. What is a story? What is it made of? How to tell a good story, and who can tell a good story, basically. So we believe that anybody can tell a story. Anybody who has an idea, who has a vision, who has a perspective, who has a product, a solution, or a service, anybody who has something to say that which they're passionate about, anybody can tell a story. The story could be about your company, about your organization. The story could be about yourself too. And what constitutes a good story? What is the intention of trying to say this story? Most often in this context, in today's hackathon context, you want to sell the idea that you're working on, so that you want the listener to have the story registered it in his head, so that they can take some sort of action. But what makes a good story? A good story is made of three things. First, first is words, the use of proper vocabulary. You do not have to restrict to one single language for it. You can use multiple languages. And just a second. Okay, so yeah, using the right words. And what do you do with these words? You paint a picture. You paint a picture of the scene or the context that they're trying to describe. And when you paint the right picture, the listener is able to put themselves in your shoes and try to experience what it is that you're trying to say. And along with this picture, you also invoke emotions. What is the emotion that you're trying to convey? And when you combine these three powerful elements, the right vocabulary, trying to paint a good picture, and invoking the right emotions, the listener is captivated and the story is registered in his head for far long than after he has heard it. But what's the intention of having it registered in their head? What's the intention of them remembering it so vividly? Is when you remember a story, when you remember a story so vividly in its details, the listener takes action. The action could be anything. The action could be them trying to support you in some by providing some resources, helping you in any way. then trying to be if it's an investor, you're trying to have them invest in your idea. It could be any sort of action. So if you want the listener, the person you're telling the story, to take some action on it, you have to ensure you sell them a good story. And the good story, as I said earlier, it's words, using the right words, painting the right picture, and invoking the right emotions. Now, now that you know what a story is, then to tell a good story, to give a good pitch, it basically comes down to two things. What do you say, and how do you say it? What first? I'm going to be doing here the what do you say section. Like, what do you communicate? What are you trying to say? For this section, we recommend and we practice um, the Simon Sinek's golden circle model. Some of you might be aware of it, and this is a very famous model where Simon Sinek argues that a lot of times when somebody asks to describe ourselves, we communicate from the outside and from outside to inside. What do we do? How do we do? Why do we do? But instead, we need to actively practice to communicate from the inside, from why, telling why, what is your motivation there first, and then then how, your process, and then comes what, your results. Let me give an example. I'm going to be trying to describe myself. If somebody asks, hey Krishna, tell me a little bit about yourself, so here's how I want to say it. Like, first is why. What is my purpose, my motivation? Like, my motivation is to see other people strive, and I want to inspire action in other people, to help bring together teams and help them make the world a better place in the end. And how do I do it? I do it by mentoring. I do it by coaching people and providing solutions to startups, organizations, and to train them on how to convey their messages and ideas. And what do I do? I provide many services and conduct workshops. I conduct one-on-one coaching sessions. And one of the ways is also the presentation, and which I'm doing it right now for you, sharing my 2 cents on this subject. So what is this why? What is this motivation that we're talking about? And how do we figure it out? What is it for us? What is it for our idea and our group? So it's called core messages. What your why is your core message that you're trying to say. And this core message can come in different shapes and sizes and forms. Um, to figure out what is your core message, these are the 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. That's first, why does the organization exist? Second, why do you get out of the bed in the morning? And third, why should anyone care? Most famous brands and companies use this inside out methodology to convey what they're trying to do. Let me give you an example here. You all know Apple. Apple is one of the most successful tech companies in the world. And how did it get there? And why is it so big? And how are they able to sell their products in every nook and corner of the world, and people buy them? Why do people buy Apple products? So, first, Apple, their why. The why of Apple is they want to question the status quo, to challenge the status quo of the market. And how do they do it? By leading the design process inside out, and they create user-friendly, highly intuitive devices. And what do? They create phones, computers, tablets, and you all know they are some of the best in the world. So if you look at any commercial and the way Apple communicates with its customers is they first say why are they doing it, how are they doing it, and finally comes the product, the end line. What are they doing? So this was the what section of the story. Then now comes how do you sell it? How do you do a story? How do you structure a story? And how do you say it? So I'm going to be passing the floor to Falco, who'll be continuing from here.
Thank you very much, Krishna. It is a pleasure always to listen to you. And also from my side, hello to the 28 teams who are participating in this hackathon and investigating their time into learning and bringing very important products into the world. And it's all about IoT, I heard this weekend. So I wish you a lot of energy and luck and that you can make use of the input I'm going to provide you now further on. As Krishna was telling you already, core messages are very important and crucial to any story you want to tell. It's basically this: if people shall remember something from the story, it's your core message. And now I want to invite you to follow me into how you build that story. What are further elements of that story? Later on through my presentation, we will need the chat function, so you can open that already now. But for now, I'm just going to give you a little bit more input before we become active. So the elements of the story are the conflict, the character, the plot, and the core message. We already know quite a lot about the core message. What is really important as a storyteller is to focus as well on the conflict itself. As humans, we intuitively always look for balance in our lives. We search harmony in our environment. And every conflict we see, we try to resolve it. We try to instinctively find a solution towards it. So as a storyteller, we need to be able to transmit that conflict to our audience so that they can feel it and they suddenly become active and continue listening to you even stronger. There are many conflicts in the world. Just one of them is being COVID-19 at this very moment happening, right? Everybody can relate to this because it impacts all of us very strongly. There's a strong, powerful wording and phrasing and picture to use. If you have the solution, you'll be sure that there will be a lot of people listening to you. Make sure that you can talk about the conflict and about the resolution of the conflict itself as well. Now, the next step is for people to listen to you and that you really capture their attention and you leave an imprint on your brain of your call to action of your core message is the importance of characters which you use. People not only relate to the conflict, but also to the characters inside of your story. Who is going to resolve the conflict? And eventually, who is causing the conflict? Can be kind of the hero and the anti-hero theory, which you can use here. It's important that you build characters which are similar to your audience in terms of cultural values or purpose in their lives or their environment, right? The more similar the characters, the more likely the audience to identify themselves with your character, the more likely is they're going to take action in your favor. So the core message, we already talked a lot. Now it's about the plot. The plot of the whole thing. It's important the way how you structure these elements in your story. Usually what you do, and you can see a lot of movies working in that way, first thing which is being presented is the character, a conflict arises, and then it's being resolved, the whole thing. That's exactly how you should build it yourself. It's important that in the plot you use metaphors, you use symbols in order for people to easily follow and stay interested in your story you're sharing. Now, I'll give you one example, a short video. As we're talking today about Internet of Things, we thought that IBM could be a very interesting company. They had a project which is called Outthink Melanoma. While you're going to listen to this video, we're going to share it, just 2-3 minutes. I would like you to focus and try to understand what's the conflict they are presenting, who are the characters, what's the core message, and what is the plot and how is the plot structured throughout this story, right? And then after the story, we'll come back and then we're going to analyze these things based on this story. So Krishna, can you please start the video now?
This is Australia's silent killer.
Can you guys hear the audio? Just Let me know.
Yes, Krishna. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked.
This is Australia's silent killer. One Australian dies every 6 hours from melanoma. Tragically, clinicians can only diagnose it at about 60% accuracy with the naked eye. They needed help. But when melanoma is hard to detect, how do you fight it? You don't. You outthink it.
Hello, my name is Watson.
Meet IBM Watson, dubbed the smartest machine on Earth. Watson understands, reasons and learns just like humans, only on a massive scale and at high speed. But Watson needed data. We invented the Watson Smart Mirror, a simple, augmented reality skin check. Every face was examined by our machine learning algorithms and built-in UV camera to determine their sunburn risk in today's weather conditions. Those considered high risk were immediately referred to an on-site skin specialist who took high-resolution photographs of each suspicious mole. These images are helping train Watson to detect variations in colour, border, symmetry, network, similarity and score. For those who couldn't meet Watson in person, a social media campaign drove Australians nationwide to share their melanoma stories. Local celebrities kick-started conversation.
Cut from the top of my nose down to the base of my chin.
Every tweet, post and photo helped our understanding of melanoma. With all this new data, Watson is now helping researchers work to boost detection accuracy from 60% with the naked eye to 91%.
If I hadn't met Watson at Bondi, they may never have found this suspicious mole and they'll probably still be carrying it around.
I hope to help more Australians like Ian. So together, we can finally outthink melanoma. Catch you later, mate.
Great, thank you. I think that is a wonderful example of a story and how you're supposed to tell a story. Now let's dig into the different elements which you have in C in identifying the story. Krishna, let's go to the next slide. So what do you think? And feel free to write it in the chat. I'll give you a couple of seconds to respond. What do you think was the core message of that project, of that product, and of that video? Feel free to type it in now. Treating melanoma, yeah. That was the content, good. But what was the core message? Using image recognition, identifying melanoma signs beforehand. Good. Anybody else? Outthink melanoma. AI-based project, great. Helping people with melanoma. It's good. Identifying the disease in initial stages, perfect, good. Melanoma takes life, we're already going ahead. Use Mirror app with Watson, perfect. Thank you, there are a lot of good ones. The core message which we have identified here is, next slide, drum roll. Whoop. Watson helps researchers to boost detection accuracy by 31%. That's immense. That's the core message. That's what Watson is doing there. That's the core message, that they helps them really to make the difference. All right. What do you think is the conflict they have been presenting? I think that is an easy one. Or maybe let's start with the character. Who do you think were the characters or the main character in the story? Feel free to write it again in the chat if you have an idea. With whom, yeah, humans don't detect it with naked eyes. With whom do you identify in this story? Watson, exactly. Watson is the main character. And you saw what they tried to do in the video. They tried to make Watson human, right? they try to make Watson as close to be a human as possible, right? Watson said things like, "See you later, buddy." And they also said, like humans, Watson needs to learn and to become better, to progress, right? So they try to really make Watson as close to you as possible. What was the conflict? Can it detect with human eyes? Yes, definitely. The conflict is that detection accuracy is not high enough. There are still many Australians and in the whole world dying of melanoma. One Australian dies every 6 hours. That is the conflict. And that doesn't have to happen, right? With the technology and the database and the support of Watson, this can be avoided. Thank you for all the input. And now let's go to the plot. The plot, it's a long plot, but you see that kind of what pictures they were using, metaphors they were using to tell the story along. They used the way of the social media campaign as one example to reach even further out. The main storyline here is Watson helps the doctors. Watson needs data to learn, and that it works both offline and also online, right? So if you now take a look at these different elements of the storytelling, you can go way more in depth of this. There was probably some genius behind that video, that project, how they presented it. So I really like it. You have the character Watson. There is a conflict that one Australian dies every 6 hours from melanoma. That inside of me creates already the need to help, to do something, because I see this as something which is not needed, like it doesn't have to happen nowadays anymore. Watson can help because he boosts detection accuracy by 31%, right? The only thing which we need to do is let Watson learn, both offline and online. So what does that now mean for you? If you go back to your business, if you go back to your product, the conflict you're trying to resolve. And I would like to invite you now for just a couple of minutes to reflect on this, each individually, and then later today or tomorrow, go back to your team and really think about your why, because that's the point of origin where you start spreading and filling all the other parts of your story. But the why, your purpose, that's the most important thing which you shall always be able to answer precisely, authentically, right? So just take now for yourself, take pen and paper, sit down, reflect, take 5 minutes. Why? Your motivation. What do you believe? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Why should anyone care? These are tough questions, but if you can answer them, then you're likely to succeed and to have the support and many more resources available, because people will take action to support you. Within the 5 minutes, if you still have some time, there's also the how and the what at the bottom, but focus on the why. 5 minutes starting from now. We're going to be back here at 3:30. Take pen and paper. I invite you now to do this exercise. Talk to you in 5 minutes. Go.
Falko, should we send them in the breakout rooms in there? No.
No, I think they can do this individually now. Just really take pen and paper, sit down. Later you go back to your teams and you share what you wrote down and you come to a common ground within your team. But now it's important that every team member knows his purpose. Right? So sit down, just write it down for you. Take these couple of minutes in silence. We'll be back in 4 minutes. All right. Thank you all for taking the time and reflecting on these questions we have been just presenting to you. It's your content. I still want to invite you to share this definitely within your team and also to build a strong story one you truly believe in, which you'd be able to share. I think tomorrow is the pitching day, and to build on your pitch. Now, I don't want to extend the time which we were given by the organizers, but maybe there's time for Q&A. So if anybody has questions, just pop it in and we'll answer them. We also can collect questions, and we are still available throughout today and tomorrow to answer your questions as well. Feel free to reach out to us through Jagadish and Manoj as well.